A fundamental part of your fight training is going to be learning and having a strong and technical clinch. So all of your fighting, whether it's stand-up or grappling on the ground, wrestling, it's going to be built off of a clinch. You've probably heard the statistic or the saying or the thing that everybody says that 90% of fights end up on the ground. That may or may not be true, but before they go to the ground, they're always going to end up in a clinch. There's always going to be a time where you go from standing to entangled to whatever, knockout, to the ground, takedown, throw, trip, fall, whatever. So training the clinch does a few things. It gets you comfortable working in a close range with your partner and an opponent somewhere down the line. It teaches you how to feel pushes and pulls, teaches you how to feel pressure, and teaches you how to, or helps you learn how to operate and take advantage of any space that your partner gives up or that you create. So this is all about feeling pushes and pulls, creating space, filling space, and managing space. Off of that, if you're good at that, you can build any fighting system off of that clinch. So the first thing you're going to learn is the pummel. All right, the pummel is a fundamental drill. It's relatively simple. It's positional, but it can go from a positional just learning exercise or drill all the way into a more competitive warm-up or a skill building exercise based on your experience level and how good you are at it and how long you've been doing it. So you should start every training session probably with pummeling, some clinch work, no matter what kind of fighting that you're going to be doing. So especially if you're working in a self-defense world. When you're pummeling, there's two positions. There's an overhook and an underhook, and you'll find those positions in all aspects of grappling or entangled fighting. So the pummeling helps you learn how to transition through those positions while applying some space and some movement and feeling pushes and pulls. So to learn your pummeling, you've got to get into the right position to start. All right, you're going to have an overhook and an underhook. Now I'm going to underhook Kathy's left side with my right hand. So my underhook is just where I take my arm and put it under her armpit. Now there's a bunch of details that you're going to worry about later with the underhook. For right now, just get the position. So if we turn around here, I've got my arm under her armpit. Now, look at that position. I've got an underhook, but she also has an overhook, right? So I'm underhooked, she's overhooked. Now, one of us may be in a more dominant position, maybe in a better position based on where the pressure is, but for right now, we're just like that, okay? Now, my head goes on my overhook side. So I've got an underhook over here, and I've got an overhook over here. And she's got the same thing, right? She's got an underhook here, and she's got an overhook on that side, all right? So we're neutral, we're 50-50. Her head is between my head and my underhook. My head is between her head and her underhook, all right? Now, you want to have the underhook foot forward, the underhook side foot forward. Don't worry too much about that at first, but it's something you want to get used to doing pretty early on. So for right now, overhook, underhook, we're at the same level. So I'm a little bit taller than Kathy, so I have to squat down a little bit. I want my head at the same level as her head. Now to do the pummel, we're going to switch positions. So I'm going to take my overhook side. Kathy's going to take her overhook side too. And we're going to swim it in for an underhook. All right, we're going to swim it in for an underhook. And as we go, we're going to transition and we're going to switch side. And then now I've got an overhook on the other side and an underhook on the other side, and she does the same. So we're just going back and forth between those two positions. It's going to be really awkward and not smooth at first, but you have to just keep doing it nice and slow until you get a good feel for this. Now, just a couple of quick details. When I go from the overhook to the underhook, you don't, or when I transition from side to side, we don't want to let go completely and then try to figure out where to fit in. All right, you don't want to just turn this into hug, hug, hug. It's actually a smooth sliding back and forth. So as I go under, as I swim this overhook to the underhook, I'm going in and I want to make and maintain contact, my arm to her armpit or her lower arm. So here, and I keep contact as I switch. All right, so we want to stay as tight as possible. You want to give up as little space as possible. You want to try to not disconnect from your partner if at all possible. All right, my hips are back. My hips are not up. My hips are back. Our heads are at about the same level. All right, so do it slow a few times, get a little bit smoother, and try to get yourself to the point where you can just go back and forth, nice and smooth, and then add the footwork in once you get comfortable with pummeling back and forth.